In a move late yesterday, Nigeria's Acting President Goodluck Jonathan dissolved the cabinet in the country, not giving any reason for the dissolution of the council. Former ministers have now had to hand over to the permanent secretaries of their respective ministries today as they take charge pending the constitution of a new cabinet. While the dissolution brings to an end months of speculation of cabinet change by Jonathan since taking over as acting president on February the 9th, it's been a surprise move that heightens uncertainty in the country. And joining us now to unpack as much as we possibly can is Opeyemi Agbaje, CEO of Resource and Trust Company, and he joins us from our studios in Lagos. Thanks so much, Opeyemi, for joining us this afternoon. Well, we saw yesterday Nigeria's acting president taking a further step to assert his authority in the country. First and foremost, what's sentiment like on the ground at the moment?
Well, most people are happy about the dissolution of the cabinet. Most people believe, and I do believe, that the president needed to consolidate his hold on power. He started off with changing the Attorney General. He then changed the security chief, the National Security Advisor, and now has dissolved the cabinet, finally stamping his authority on governance, demonstrating that he holds the final reins of power in the country. I think it's positive for him. It signals the final dawn of a Jonathan era.
So some have said, with that being the case, that this suggests that, and they're pretty confident that President Yaradua will not be returning to office. To what extent is this the view that's out there at the moment?
I don't think there are many people who expect President Yaradua to return to office. We all know the facts. He's been away for going on 4 months now. Nobody has set his eyes on him in 4 months. He came back to the country some weeks back, and we haven't seen him. One thing we can deduce now is that he's not in a state to govern the country, and I think the political elite and the security elite and the international community all recognize that now. So essentially, we're in the post-Yaradua era, as some of us have suspected we will be sooner rather than later. So we think it is clear that Acting President Goodluck Jonathan will run the government through to the transition, except something dramatic happens.
We've seen reports that the process of the screening of the new ministers to be nominated may well be fast-tracked by the National Assembly. Already up to 24 people in the dissolved cabinet are being speculated to return to power pretty soon. What has the cabinet's performance been like over the past?
I think that it's not been one of our better governments, and it all comes down to the leadership. We've not had an effective governance for some time, obviously due to the health challenges of our president, and that has fed into the performance of the cabinet. With the key priorities of the government have not been dealt with: power, infrastructure, the Niger Delta, and all of that. The only area in which the government was making some progress was in respect to the Niger Delta. Unfortunately, even that was stalled by Yaradua's absence. So we need, clearly, there needs to be a signal from Jonathan that performance and high levels of performance would have to be required of the new team he will constitute, and he would have to determine the pace and the structure of that performance.
Well, intense investigations have been launched as well into the management of funds in the past 6 months in particular. And on a global scale, we've got security agencies and operatives around the world being placed on high alert following suspicions that some members of the Executive Council may have stashed huge sums of money offshore. What do you see this doing to international perceptions of Nigeria?
Clearly, one of the big downsides of the vacuum in leadership in Nigeria in the last 6 months has been that value for money from government procurements have gone down. People in government perceived there was 6 months notice, 6 months of certainty, and people, I think, leveraged that opportunity to deplete the national treasury. And we've seen, for instance, the contract for a runway go up from 4 billion naira to 64 billion naira inexplicably. So yeah, it's clear that all that the cabinet did between November when Yaradua got ill and now has been award huge contracts, and that's the only thing that didn't suffer in President Yaradua's absence. So clearly we need some accounting, we need some investigations around those major contracts. The acting president has set up a panel already, and I think that we're going to hear a lot about what has happened. In terms of Nigeria's image, well, we will deal with that. The way we can deal with that is to show that we take action against those that may have abused their positions, and I think that should happen.
Well, some are asking the question, why was the alert made on an international scale in the first place? They're suggesting that Jonathan is setting the stage for a longer term in power, especially after the support we've seen Central Bank Governor Lamido Sanusi receive for his reforms in the country.
Well, that's one of the big questions. Will Goodluck Jonathan be president till 2011, or will he be in office beyond that? There are two views, and one which you may be familiar with is that, yeah, we have this informal zoning arrangement in which power rotates between the north and the south, and this is the North Turn. There are significant political constituencies led by some powerful governors and northerners who believe that the candidates, especially of the ruling party in 2011, should be from the north. But I wouldn't rule out acting President Goodluck Jonathan. I think that a lot will turn on his performance in these 12 months or so in which he has to shape Nigeria.
Yeah.
I think that many Nigerians, and I will be one of them, will be more interested in performance.
Well, certainly for the long term, I mean, everyone pretty confident of what this will achieve in the longer term. For the short term, they're saying uncertainty still presents a grave threat. With Nigeria's history, to what extent does this instability right now raise the danger of the military possibly stepping in?
I think with every day Jonathan stays in office, that probability diminishes. Quite frankly, that probability was a lot heightened in the past few weeks. But with the change in the security, I think there's only one more leg that he has to replace in terms of taking full reins of power. He's replaced the cabinet, he is essentially dissolved the cabinet, he's replaced the security chiefs, and he just needs to be assured of the support of the political class and the military.
Well, Opeyemi Agbaje.
So I think we're moving towards...
Well, unfortunately, sorry, we're going to have to leave it there. We're running out of time, but of course, it's developments that we will be tracking as they unfold.